integrated with a software called Meetup and
Oh, okay. Very cool. Well, thanks for coming. How about you, sir?
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Joe Simpson. I work for Metro in Los Angeles. I'm part of the web team, and my responsibilities, I administer a network of blogs that are on WordPress. I have a little time off, so I'm just going to the area meetups to try to get more involved in the community. I love WordPress.
Awesome.
Camps and everything, so just getting out and about.
Cool. Well, thanks for coming. How about you, sir? You just came in.
I'm sorry. It's really funny. We used to actually have the offices down there.
Oh, really?
We had D, and then we were in that side.
Ross has been here forever. You helped build the place, right?
That's right. That's right.
Remember press maintenance, Jesus?
Huh.
We did all the printing presses and whatnot.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Anyways, before my time.
What?
Yeah. I'm old, but not that old.
Sir, how about you in the front, right here?
Oh, my name is Ricardo. I've been working with websites since '94, when you have to do everything hard-coded. I've been working with WordPress for the last 3 years, Magento, Drupal. I guess WordPress is the easiest. Sometimes not the easiest to maintain, but the easiest to develop. Sometimes it's good to create a website and then just move it to something else if a lot of traffic hits it.
How about you?
Yeah, my name's Dean Wright. I've had a mail order business for 45 years. In fact, I sold it a year ago, ironically, to a company right across the street, California Highlights over there. But I started out with the internet using front page and then Expression, with Microsoft Expression. And of course, Microsoft kind of quit supporting all of it. And I'm trying to learn WordPress because I sold my main business, but what I want to concentrate on now is trying to sell information or sell words.
Okay.
No inventory, no shipping costs, so it's the top of the world. If you can find something that people will pay money for.
Awesome. Well, I hope you get something out of this meetup.
So I got a couple websites built, but I'm hung up on for some reason. Website is either easy or terrible.
Well,
No problem there. How about you, Jason?
My name is Jason. I'm one of the other co-founders, I guess, of this meetup. I have my own web design development agency that basically focuses mostly on WordPress. But I think I consider myself a front-end developer. I've been doing WordPress probably about, I don't know, 5 to 7 years, I think now. And so.
Very cool.
Are you in Whittier?
I am.
How about you over there in the corner?
I'm Pete. I have a tech support business, and I have a company website and WordPress, and looking to build a few other things.
Cool. Thanks for being here. How about you, Philip? Tell us about yourself.
Philip.
I'm Philip, and I work at the church. I'm an IT guy.
Very cool. How about you, Ross?
Well, I already,
Oh, you did you?
at the
All right,
beginning.
I'll do me then.
And Dean invited, I think, a wife. What's your wife's name?
Helen. We've only been married 66 years, so
Oh.
Okay.
Oh.
we're trying
Nice.
to decide whether to stick together.
We actually have 2 Helens. That are, so my Helen's over in the corner. I asked her to marry me last weekend.
Woo!
So, yeah.
Congrats.
So, and she said yes. So, yeah. So,
It's
yeah.
not much enthusiasm.
Well,
I asked her to marry me. She said no.
yeah, I don't know. So I'm kind of like, yeah. So it's an exciting time. So.
Awesome. Well, I'm Jason Tucker. I've been using WordPress probably about a year after it came out, and I've been doing a whole bunch of stuff with it. I live here in Whittier. I work at a church in Whittier. It's a Whittier Community Church. I take care of all of their IT as well as their WordPress websites. And I also do a show called WPwatercooler. I've been doing that for 5 years and a couple of weeks now. So I have that show and another show called WP Blab, which is like a social media marketing show with a WordPress slant. So we've kind of between Jason and I and Ross, we've been kind of working out what types of projects do we want to kind of discuss that makes it so it's a real world thing instead of just like, hey, look, there's a new version of Yoast that just came out. Isn't that great? Yay! They just had a new little box on their site or something like that. We wanted to kind of add a little bit more meat to those bones. So what we thought of is we want to make like a fictitious website, just a totally just kind of silly website, and then start building things on it. And then as you start asking questions like, how do I sell something on my website? How do I make a mailing list? How do I do this? How do I do that? We could, between the three of us and any of you, if any of you have like a product that you want to come up here and say, hey, here's how this particular product works. I've been using it for a long time. Here's how we can get it to work. We have like a captive audience in here that could go to the website using mobile, sign up for a fake mailing list just to check it out and see how it works. Click on links to see how things work, and essentially you get to be like the guinea pig of how this thing is set up. Now, Jason last meetup said like we started talking about tires. Wasn't it you that talked about a tire company?
Well, I think he started it. He asked me
like name a thing and name another thing.
What kind of tires or whatever. I was like,
Right. So we're like tire company. All right, we're gonna, because we don't want this to sound like we're pitching anything, because we're not pitching anything here. We're not here to sell our own services. I mean, all three of us will gladly accept your money and build your website for you. But what we're not trying to do is we're not trying to be like a salesman for a particular product or service or anything like that. So we came up with this thing which is just like it's BlueTires.xyz. Like that's just the domain name. So we're never going to try to sell blue tires, obviously. For one, good luck trying to make a blue tire, and two, just trying to sell them and market them, whatever. So we thought we'd come up with something that's cheap, relatively easy, and we can just kind of build the website off of it and pretend that we're selling blue tires. So Ross's company also does web hosting for his own clients. So instead of having to pay a web host to host the thing, Ross gladly said, I'll spend no dollars and no cents to host the site for us, and then we'll have this kind of set up so we can play around with it. So before we get into any of that, if you guys haven't looked at WhittierWP, this website kind of has pretty much most of the information regarding what's going on with this particular meetup, what's involved here, what our past meetups have, so on and so forth. We built all this using Beaver Builder. The site that we're going to be building is going to be using Beaver Builder as well, so we can kind of play around with that a little bit and see how it all works. But so we're essentially starting off with a website that looks like this. So this BlueTires.xyz is just going to have nothing special on it, and just kind of pretend to build the website. So one of the questions somebody had in our meetup was, if you're starting out with a new website, how do you take that website with its existing content and everything and do essentially go from HTTP to HTTPS, so to make it have a secure website. And so what we're going to go through today is taking a bunch of like sample content, putting it onto the website, pretend that we're building a website, and now we have an existing website, and we're like, oh no, Google's going to delist my website or do something because it's not secured, and we're going to secure the website. So you'll see how that process works. And then we'll notice that all sorts of stuff's broken on the website because we have a mixed mode environment happening where we have the website itself is HTTPS, but all the content that's being pulled into that site is going to be HTTP. So because of those two things, we're going to have to go through and update a whole bunch of stuff. So if you have a website with tons of content on there and you're wanting to migrate from HTTP to HTTPS, it's a pain in the butt unless you know what you're doing. And so we wanted to kind of walk through how to do that and what are kind of the trials and tribulations of dealing with that.
Are you going to go through the process of installing the certificate?
Yeah, so we're going to use Let's Encrypt. And so Ross is over there messing with the... Yeah. Yeah, that's the free one. Yeah. So since we're not spending any money off of this, and we just want to, we spent $20 on pizza. That's about as far as we're gonna go and and doing any of this sort of thing. We're gonna build this website and put a bunch of content on there and kind of play around with it a little bit.
So you don't extend the validation of any of those SSL?
No, but they're all the same when you're installing them. It's just create a CSR, upload the CSR, get the file back from it, put that into your website, install that. Most people nowadays are hosting through a web host that actually has just like a way of just kind of being able to build that out ourselves, just by going in and clicking a couple buttons to install that SSL certificate, or you can just buy it from them and they'll just install it for you. So we're not going to go through all of that sort of stuff, and we're actually going to just probably just have Ross walk over there and enable the SSL certificate on his server, and then we'll just say, ta-da, everything's working.
Already did.
Oh, you already did that?
So
Okay.
yeah, you can actually go up there and do HTTPS.
And that'll work?
That'll work. It's already installed.
Cool. Perfect. All right. So we're going to pretend that we're not in HTTPS. So that way, when we upload some files, it's going to be messed up. So, all right. So let me go back up here real quick, and let's go to. So I'm going to go to a website. This is a website that just has a bunch of free images that we can download real quick. And so I'm going to download a few of these, and then we'll kind of get these loaded up on the website, and we can see what happens when we're actually doing this. So all the images are going to be on my desktop, and then we're just going to upload the images to the site. One thing I was having a problem with, Ross, is logging in. It wasn't sending me my email when I tried to log in. Do you mind typing in your username and password real quick?
No, mine's it's a random password. I can go to mine.
Okay.
I've got my computer over here. This is
Okay. Yeah, we'll
later.
do that. We'll do that. Our Q&A part of it. So, what type of things should we discuss that you'd like to learn more about regarding a new website that you're wanting to build? Is there like particular plugins that you use? Is there like what's something that if you're just starting a website off fresh, what are some things that you install yourselves?
Questions will probably arise as you're building.
Yep, they are. But like, what are the first plugins that you would install? For me, I'd probably install an SEO plugin. So maybe like Jetpack. And I'm writing a little thing up in the corner here that's probably too small.
So are you using a theme or are you doing a custom theme?
We're going to use Beaver Builder as the way of being able to do it. So that's their theme. Mm-hmm.
That's at Forms.
So a Forms plugin. So it's a business that sells stuff, but we won't get into the whole e-commerce and installing WooCommerce and all that, but we'll definitely get to that at some point here. What other things do you think we should put onto a brand spanking new website?
Facebook Pixel.
Okay. Ooh, you're making me install a Facebook page and all sorts of fun stuff. This is gonna be great. We're gonna be selling tens of no tires at all. It's gonna be sweet.
Google Analytics.
Google Analytics.
Some right now I will install some security workbench or something.
Okay.
Because I've had 12 websites hacked last week. So
Here's your username and password.
new customers
Sweet.
Oops, sorry.
From Russia?
everywhere.
They're all VPNs.
No, Jason T.
Oh, Jason T.
I'm back behind. Sorry, I should have been.
It's all right. No problem. So there we go. So now we have our go into our website and kind of start getting things set up here. So first, let's go and create a new post real fast. Throw in some sentences here. So I use a plugin, or I use an application called Alfred. So if I start typing in the word Lorem Ipsum, it lets me create however many paragraphs of text that I want to put in. So if I'm quickly building something, I don't have to think about what it's going to look like or anything, but it'll just type everything in for me. So I'm going to publish this post on here, and then I'm going to put a couple images in here just so we can see how things get messed up when we when we go and put in, so let's see here, let's go and put in an image. So we'll put in, okay, so we're going to put in these images here. So we'll put this image up on the top here, and we'll put another image somewhere down here. Put another image after this paragraph. So the reason why I'm doing this is I want to show, if you look over here in the corner, that these images are using HTTP. So what happens is when the content gets saved into the database, it's going to save this as HTTP. So when we actually start referencing this content on the website, it'll pull in as HTTP, and then when we switch it to be HTTPS, the browser is going to look at it and say, is any item on this particular page using HTTPS? If it is, we're great. If it's using HTTP, nope, something's wrong here. We need to fix this. We're in this weird mixed mode environment. We need to fix that.
Is there a place up there to click to insert an image in a specific spot?
Yeah, so I clicked at a spot. So like if I want to go down here, I'm going to click right here, and then I'm going to go up to Add Media, and then select an image, and then the image will show up at that spot.
Are you pulling that media from your WordPress site, or are you
Yep,
pulling
so
it from the original?
yeah, so I went here and I'm just downloading an
Download it to
image.
your desktop, and then you upload those to the.
Correct. So then I went here and I'm going to now upload an image. Click on Upload up here. Select the image. So this is my new image that's right here. Hit that. It puts a checkbox next to it.
So the URL is HTTP.
P, correct. And the reason why is because the website is currently HTTP. So now that I have a bunch of HTTP images, I'm going to save this real quick, and then we'll go and view the website, and you'll see that all these images are in here. And if I look at one of those images, the image is being referenced as HTTP. So what I'm trying to simulate here is a website where we already have everything, and now we want to convert it to HTTPS. So because most people's websites are going to be HTTP currently, unless they just built the website and they've just turned on a secured certificate.
Jasper, can you insert text to the right of the image there?
Yep, I could do any of the formatting I'd like. Yep. So if I wanted to put a,
Just click text then?
yeah, if I wanted to make it like that and maybe have this one be over on the right hand side, I can definitely kind of move those pieces around as needed. So we'll hit save, and then we'll go back to the home page, and you can see those images are on there now. So the next piece is we're going to go into the dashboard, and we're going to go into settings, and then we're going to go into reading, general. And there's a section in here where we can specify whether it's HTTP or HTTPS. So let me zoom in a little bit so you can see. So Ross already went through and set up our SSL certificate. So essentially, I called GoDaddy support, I called Bluehost support, I went on to WP Engine's website and said, turn on SSL. So they will turn that on, but they won't actually change these values for you. You'll have to change these yourself. So if I go in here and hit HTTPS and put an S in front of each one of them, and then go down and save it, the website's going to most likely kick me out, and then it's going to now be HTTPS up in the top there.
Does the S stand for secure?
Yes, it does. Yeah. So when you go to your bank's website, you go to if you go to eBay, you go to any major website and any smaller website that is now using HTTPS, you're going to see a green lock on here. If they paid additional fees for it, they'll also have maybe their company's name next to it. If you click on it, you can get more information about that particular certificate and how it's set up. So now I'm going to log back in again. And you'll see that now that I'm logged in, I'm still under a secured environment at this point. If I go back to the website, did it change it?
I don't think so.
Let me see.
You can still,
But you should see, if you look under, if you look in the console too.
Because if they changed it, then my whole demo is all screwed up. Oh, it's still messed up. Still HTTP. Why am I getting an error though?
Maybe you need to not be the administrator, a separate route.
Possibly. I don't think so, but
Yeah, I just did all this. And
yeah, I should be getting like an error message saying that I'm in a.
Yeah, I just converted
Mixed
the site,
content.
and I did not mess with my photos, and they work fine.
Yeah, you start getting all sorts of issues, especially with JavaScript. If you have any JavaScript that's just
Yeah.
thrown in there that's not set up correctly.
Homepage, if you just do Blueberry or Blueberries, what do we call Bluetooth?
Blue tires.
BlueTires. Just get rid of the homepage.
Yeah, it's because I went to this because
Oh,
it
I
didn't
see.
have any images. Okay, well let's still pretend that something screwed up. So let's go take a look at it because my whole demo is based off of the fact that it's screwed up. So there's a plugin that's out there, and you can actually use this for a bunch of other things as well, called Blue Velvet. And so what Blue Velvet does is it's a URL updater. It has like 200,000 active installs. It was updated a year ago, but it literally just does something ridiculously basic, which is take some text and swap it out for other text on the site. So if you go over to Tools and then go to Update URLs, it asks you what's the old address and then what's the new address. So our old address is the one with HTTP, and our new address is with HTTPS. So if I go back over to our website,
And I'd say before you do it too, go back into the back end of that post, and then you should be able to see that it's still HTTP.
okay.
Because it's not showing that error. For whatever reason, the way it's weird, it's not showing
It should
that
be
error.
showing an error, yeah.
But
So
when
go
it's
into the
not,
post.
You should be, if you go to the text, you should be able to see that it's.
So there's my HTTP right there. So what I'm going to do is pretend that we have just tons of content, and all that content has a bunch of images that are in there. It could also include URLs for anything. So if you had a company that you used to link to, that was like.
So you'll notice too, in the URL on this one, it does not have the secure.
Yeah, yeah,
So you're
That's the error.
You're
That's
forcing
the error.
it.
Not the actual error. That.
yeah. That's it erroring now.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's go and change it. So if we go back over to Velvet Blues, all it asks me to do is put in the new address, put in the old address, put in the new address, and then what things do I want it to change? So in the database, a lot of the custom fields and meta boxes are what they call serialized. So if you went to the database, and I've done this, and it's fun to you totally break everything. But if you go into the database, and you'll see a bunch of things that have colons in between them, so it'd be like 1:6:7 something else, and then you'll have the content. If you change that content without updating the serialization, it screws everything up. You'll have widgets disappear and fall off the page. You'll have all sorts of stuff break, and it gets really, 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 really bad. So by using something like this Velvet Blues, you're making it so that when I go up here and update this excerpt and the links and the attachments and the custom fields, all of these things are going to be updated. So anytime that I'm referencing anything within that has a URL in it, so if it's a little box that's like a meta box or a custom field, all of these things are going to be updated. So when I hit the update button here, it's going to go and tell me that it updated 6 items and 5 attachments and 1 custom field. So now if I go back over here and I'll refresh this page, so if we're looking right here, you see it's HTTP. If I refresh this, ta-da, it's now HTTPS. So now I just updated the whole website. So if you spent years and years and years putting all this content in there, and now you need to update this, you can update it. The other thing you can do is if your website through the years has changed domain names, so if it's gone from, like my website started out as jasontucker.us, and then I got tired of US and I bought jasontucker.blog. I use this Velvet Blues plugin to update all the links from jasontucker.us to jasontucker.blog, and everything got updated, and I had like 9 years worth of content that got updated. I didn't have to do anything, it just kind of happened.
If you uninstall this, will they all revert back?
No, it actually changes it in the database. Yeah, and I'd actually recommend removing it once you're done, because there's no reason to have this in there other than to just use this for this one utility and get rid of it.
And Jason, what do you do even before that? You back up your site.
Oh, you back up your whole website, yeah. You definitely back up your database and back up all the stuff, yeah. So depending on who your web host is, what types of things they provide,
Back it up anyway, whether you use
just
it or not.
just back it up, yep. So there's that. The other thing that I would suggest whenever you're doing something like this is to go to settings and then go to permalinks and just hit save. That's it. Don't do anything else, just hit save. And the reason why is because WordPress and permalinks, like there's always some wacky little issue that comes up, and 9 times out of 10 just hitting the save button in permalinks will fix it. So by hitting the permalinks button, what it did, it actually went through the whole database, updated everything, and made sure that the way that I set this up, which is using postname for it, will all be updated and everything is good to go. I always tell people this is kind of like hitting like Control-Alt-Delete on your Windows computer, or being able to do like some type of like restoring permissions on a Mac or something like that. Just go in here, hit save, and then 9 times out of 10 it fixes it.
Why postname? Why not those others?
Well, I think you selected this as postname, or maybe
No,
WordPress did.
Default.
Yeah. So the postname is the way that this is set up. So if you look right here, so the postname actually takes the slug, which is the title of the page with dashes in between it, or a custom one that you crafted, and it uses that right here. There's other ones in here, and you can actually come up with your own if you want to use the various tokens that it uses. But you can have the date in it, or you can have it with a shorter version of the date. This is the one that typically comes with WordPress, which is just the ID number of the particular post. But yeah, postname is usually what most people will end up
What I
using.
was getting at, the postname is good for Google. So Google likes to have the name of the post in the SEO, solely for SEO.
Yep. Yeah, and if you have any other weird requirements, you can put those in here as well. So if you had like the post ID that you wanted to have in there, or who knows what, you can put those in there.
And if you have WooCommerce, then you have the permalinks for the shop.
Yep, definitely. There's other stuff in here you can take a look at and kind of read up on how all those things work. But yeah, that's the way that you definitely make sure you do that part of it.
A quick question.
Yes.
So now you've gone into your site and with this module, right, you've updated all the URLs, but is there anything you have to do on Apache as far as updating the URL?
Well, when you change your permalink structure in WordPress, it will go and change your htaccess file and update that so it be the correct way. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Now what about your, so let's say you've got your hosting company that's sending it to you. You have to update there as well, right? So you've got your host name tied to it.
Oh yeah, definitely. Where the protocol HTTP or HTTPS, that's based on the fact that we've enabled SSL on the website itself. So if you change your domain name, yeah, then you'd want to go in there and make sure that the Apache server or Nginx server is going to accept any connections coming in from that using that host name, and then sending it off to the correct place where that's being stored.
If you're changing the domain, you need to do the whole thing.
Oh, yeah.
Before you even start doing it on WordPress.
Yeah, definitely.
You need to create an account, and you're posting it.
You're talking about an existing site.
Yeah, an existing site. Yeah, you'd go in there and update it that way. There's also some ways where, for instance, I've gotten stuck where I've like totally locked myself out of WordPress, and I'm like, why isn't this thing letting me log in? If you go into the database itself, if you use like PHPMyAdmin or Adminer, either one of those plugins, will allow you to be able to get into the database and look at it. So, like for instance, if I go in here and set up. It's been a bit since I've installed Adminer on a. Yeah, this should do it. This will.
You use the hosting, MySQL?
You could if you weren't hosted through Ross, who has his own custom setup done. Yeah, you could definitely do that. So we're going to run this real quick, and what this does will allow me to kind of look at the database and see what's here. This will also give me the opportunity to kind of show you a little bit about how WordPress kind of stores stuff in the database. So if we go into, for instance, so let's pretend that I got locked out, right? And my web host gave me PHPMyAdmin rights, so I'm able to get into PHPAdmin and take a look at it. Adminer and PHPAdmin look very, very similar. They're based off the same type of setup. If I go in here, these are the two fields that I changed. Yeah. So when I go over to settings in general, these two fields that are right here are the same. Ooh, okay. Are the same two fields that are right here. So if you get yourself locked out, you can update these two fields in here, and it'll automatically update it in the WordPress site. I mean, it's the same content being pulled from the database.
I just did that last week.
Yeah.
I messed up.
Could you ever set your user password there?
You can. You sure can. If you get that screwed up, then yeah, there's definitely ways to do that too. So if I did like blue tires with an exclamation mark and hit save, if I go over here and hit refresh, you'll see that blue tires now has an exclamation mark. So I'm editing the database directly. If you absolutely have to, that's something you can do. So if you get locked out, you said, oh, this is HTTPS, and then you somehow screwed up something in the database, you can at least go back in here, quickly make the change, and then you're good to go. The things I was trying to tell you earlier regarding post-meta, this is where you can really start messing stuff up. And I'm a believer in understanding how something works so you won't make these mistakes. So if we look in here, this right here is serialized content. So you have an S, you have a colon, you have a 5, you have the word width with quotes around it, you have another thing says height, another thing says file, then here's the file name of the image that we uploaded, here's the thumbnail for it. If I scroll down, it tells it that it's a JPEG, that it's medium sized, like it has all this information in here. If I were to change anything in here, it'll actually mess up the way that the serialization works. And then when I hit save and go to WordPress and refresh, I won't be able to access that section of it, or things will just be really broken. So it really just depends on what things you're changing in here and the way you're doing it. So by using that the Velvet Blues plugin, what it's going to do is it'll take care of all of the reserializing of the content for you, which is super handy. There's also some plugins that are out there, as well as like a standalone PHP file that I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but I'll make sure to put it in our Meetup. But this file will allow you to make changes to anything, not just URLs, but you can put any type of information in there. Hit update, and it updates it in the database. Mm-hmm. Yes, that's it. Yeah, that's it. Mm-hmm. You said
search, replace,
database search replace PHP by interconnect
Yeah,
slash
that's the
IT.
one.
Yeah. So this thing, you download the file, you put it in the root of of your web host for that particular website, and then you get something that kind of looks like this, where it says like, put in what you want to search for, put in the other thing. If you know regular expression, you can do some regular expression. Then put in the database information, specify what table you're wanting to modify, and then you hit dry run. You always hit dry run if it gives you a dry run. Hit dry run. It'll tell you all the things that you're going to break if you hit the go button, and if you're 100% certain that you want to do it, hit live run. It'll update all the database information. You're good to go.
You have to delete it because
Yeah, then
anybody
delete
just
that
goes to
file.
The URL, they can destroy your website.
Is that a plugin? What is
It's an independent standalone PHP file. So you just take this one PHP file, FTP in your web server, put that file in the root of your WordPress site. It doesn't have to be WordPress; it could be anything. You use Drupal and it'll still do it. And it'll go in the database and it'll do all the updates for you. And then when you're done, yeah, hit this delete button. And if you want to be 1000% certain, make sure you update your make sure you change the file name before you upload it. Put in like blah 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 at the end of it. Just run your hand across the keyboard just to make sure that no one's gonna be able to see this file. Because if they see this file, they'll be able to look at this and they'll be able to access it and just update it.
And they
And
get the password for your database. and the
yeah,
internet.
that's it.
And if they have that, even if you delete the file, they can still access your website.
Right, exactly. Which means you need to have everything kind of all separated out. Nothing's using the same username and passwords and none of that sort of thing. So that's the basics of, we just started off with the website, we just put in all the content, we just kind of got everything ready to go, and now we're like, oh no, we need HTTPS. Let's install this and get it all set up.
Now, this assumes you already got your SSL certificate.
Mhm. Yeah, and we're using Let's Encrypt. So, for instance, if you're using GoDaddy, Bluehost, Media Temple, any of like the major players, they all have a button that says install Let's Encrypt.
Now, if you're self-hosting, you've got your own little play server.
You can definitely do it with that too.
What are the steps to do something like that?
Yeah, so there's like if you look on Let's Encrypt's website, there's a section there where you essentially just copy and paste, and it's like install Let's Encrypt, then it installs Let's Encrypt. Usually it's like a Linux package or something like that. Then once you're done with that, you run this command, and this command, and it talks to Let's Encrypt. It downloads and does all of the talking that it needs to, and then when you're done, it then makes it so that now you have a file that you can now load into your database, or sorry, into your Apache server or Nginx server.
And all the main browsers accept Let's Encrypt?
Oh yeah, yep, no problems at all with that.
You need to have dedicated server, VPS? Or
You have to have your own server with SSH access.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, would that be just VPS, or you need an actual dedicated hardware?
Well, it depends on you and what your server company.
There's no requirement on that part of it.
Right.
As long as you have some type of root
Not that you need
access.
SSH?
Yep, just you'll need SSH for it.
My server is located at Rackspace, and I want Rackspace to install because I just don't want to touch it because I have all my customers on there, and they said, no, we don't support it. The reason why they don't support it is because they actually sell SSL certificates. So it goes against it goes against their model.
Same with
So, but I still wanted, I feel like it was the risk enough for me to install it myself because I want to provide Let's Encrypt to all my customers. I have to buy
You have
a
VPS,
$69
you have dedicated hosting, or
dedicated server.
So like for instance, I host with WP Engine, and if I go into WP Engine's website here,
support that,
Right.
yeah,
directly.
yeah, because so I'll just log in real quick and I can show you if it lets me.
Yeah, one of the sites I'm hosting with DreamHost. You guys try DreamHost?
I don't know my password.
DreamHost is good for like nonprofits. They host our site for free,
Nice.
but you have to send them in
Yeah.
your 503c
Mm-hmm.
proof of you're legitimate nonprofit.
Definitely.
And they'll like host for free. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's been running it like 2 years now.
Oh. No, that
and they've got.
I love that they do that.
I don't see how they do it or anything. They just automatically.
Yeah, usually it's just hit the button, say turn on Let's Encrypt. They do the stuff in the back end, and then it comes back and says, okay, you're ready to go.
Yeah, they didn't even ask me.
Yeah.
We're gonna do it. Here you go.
Yep, and the thing about Let's Encrypt, if you get into this stuff, and it's kind of in the weeds, but Let's Encrypt expires after a certain amount of time. 45 days? 90 days? Yeah.
90 days.
So after 90 days it expires. So what you need to do is set up a way that will automatically reinstall it over and over and over again. Once it's done once, you're good to go to be able to reinstall each time, and you don't have to go through any like what's your email address and username, password, and all that stuff. So you just run this little script that will just keep updating. On your Linux server, you'd set it up in cron, so you have the cron job that will just run every probably every couple every day, something like that, and just have it checked to make sure.
Now, what do you guys do with like somebody arrives at your site at a standard HTTP address? Is the site, now that you've run this module, does it also take care of the redirects?
No, it does not. There are other plugins to do that. I can kind of explore that a little bit.
You can just do about 3 lines of HTTP access.
You can do that too. So,
Depends on your settings, but
so the plugin that I like for it is called Redirection. And so if you install Redirection and then update it, or activate it rather, if you go down to Settings and then go to, nope, not that, Tools and Redirection, what this does is it lets you do pretty much what we were doing with this, you know, having a source URL and then having a target URL. So if you wanted to have a particular page get redirected from one address to another, you just put that information in here, put the other information in here, hit Add Redirect, and they'll show up on the list here. And it'll actually keep track of the number of times that happens. So if you have a page that's really popular and it's 404ing for whatever reason, and you're like, oh no, I need to make this go someplace else, you can just put the addresses in here of what it used to be and what it needs to be, hit the update button or the redirect button, and it'll set up the redirection for you. You can also set it up based on if you wanted to do either use a modified post or use redirections. Redirections is what this typically uses. It'll let you also look at the 404s. So if I go to here and go to, that'll give me a 404. Okay, so I have a 404 now. If I go and refresh this, my 404 shows up there. So this page, let's say, it's no longer valid and I want it to go someplace else. I can click on Add Redirect, maybe send it to the home page or, you know, something like that. So if I hit redirect, now if I go to that address, it'll redirect to the home page that we made.
And I'm always curious, how much slower does the site run for each plugin you add?
Oh boy, yeah, that's like we're starting to get into holy war territory here, you know. If it's a whole bunch of teeny tiny little plugins that do very little, then it's not taking up a whole lot. But if you're installing 9 different WooCommerces, then yeah, so if you start installing stuff that just has a ton of things that are going on in it, yeah, it could definitely slow down your website. No, I mean this is worth it to me because I can look at it and see, okay, how many people have gone to the page, what's happening here, how should I redirect it?
This plugin, it doesn't do anything. It just sits there and waiting for that 404 to hit. Once the 404 hits, that plugin activates, redirects, and then shuts off again. So this is all it's doing is taking up storage space on your hard drive.
Yep.
Other than that, there's, I'm sure, 0 time of.
And I'll give you a real world example that I literally did today. We had a situation where in one of our printed materials, it's always a printed material issue.
Right.
Printed material, person put in the web address to go to, but they misspelled one of the words. And you're like, okay, did they misspell the domain name? No. Whew, thank goodness. Okay, we didn't have to register a new domain name. That's great. But they misspelled one word in a series of words squished together with no dashes or anything. That was just, it wasn't something that their spell checker caught because it's a misspelled word. Just
The web address.
yeah, it's a web address.
So it doesn't.
They actually typed it in.
Wasn't security accurate?
No, no.
Maybe.
But if it was 2007 and they misspelled it and put 2006 in there, all they would do is just go into here and go to redirects, go in here and type in like /2006 to or whatever to / 2017 or whatever, and you hit redirect, and now anytime you go to /20 2006, it'll redirect to 2017, and that's it. I didn't have to do anything else. I didn't have to learn how htaccess works. I didn't have to learn any of that stuff. It just kind of happened.
It's just like a regex engine in the background.
It totally is.
You can do that. So if you scroll down, I use some of this website here. So that regex. Let's say you take a website customer and they have .htm pages. You can use that regex. Say take it's all the same URLs. It's just going from like .htm to .php or something.
Or
so
just nothing. Yeah.
Nothing, right. So that regex is pretty nice. So you don't have to do every single page. You do a regex.
Yep. So what I typically do is go into 404s and look at it and say, whoa, you got a ton of 404s. What the heck happened here? Okay, we need to start building out the new pages. And so we just start setting up redirect pages. Yeah.
You find out there's in 404s.
Yep. Yeah, this will give you all the 404s. And if you have a bunch of sites, if you have a bunch of sites that are having the same issue, or if you just have a ridiculous amount of them and you don't want to manage it, you can download this file that this thing will build out. You could do it in CSV or JSON or whatever. Download this file, and then open the file up in like Excel or whatever, and then make your changes, save it, and then import it back in again, and now you've updated all of your URLs.
How do you get to the page that has the 404?
So like like for instance, this page that had this / whatever up here, if I go back to the website and go to that fake page, it'll redirect itself back to the home page. Back to whatever page I want it to. I only have one page. I called it home page. I should have called it something else.
No, I mean the one that gives you the count how many.
Oh yeah. So that's under redirection, and then you go to this. You go to 404s, right?
And just to jump back to the Let's Encrypt stuff or the HTTPS, that some hosts actually you can force it to so you don't have to do any kind of redirection. So like I use SiteGround when I set up Let's Encrypt. It gives me the option to basically force it. So if somebody types in HTTP whatever, it forces it to go there. There's also other plugins that do that too. Like a lot of the security plugins will do that. I think security, I think WordPress will do that, where you go in there and just basically force either the front. It gives you options like force the back end, force the front end, force the whole site. Should all be HTTPS. And so whatever, if you try to even go to HTTP, you can. It's going to force it to be HTTPS.
It'll just resolve back.
Yeah.
And actually, you do that at the level of Let's Encrypt. So when I installed this SSL Encrypt cert certificate at the beginning, and so you list all the domains, and I want to install the cert for both the domain.com and www.domain.com. And at the very end, it says press 1 if you, which I did on this one, if you just want, just manually change some of the pages to HTTPS for this demo.
Yep.
But usually what I do is if I want to go to HTTPS because I hit the number 2 and it forces all the pages HTTPS. So even if I type in anything like www. whatever, it forces it over at the Apache level.
Nice.
On Let's Encrypt.
Yeah.
So you don't have to do any WordPress plugins or anything.
So that goes back to the Apache htaccess.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Well, Let's Encrypt, Let's Encrypt changes the Apache files for you.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's the hook. I just had the certificate put on one of my sites, and I think that's what the host did. Because I thought, I'm going to go see if I can how it works with the old site and just redirect it.
Right.
It took a long time the first couple times.
Yeah.
It was like, oh man, what's going on? It said redirecting. It's like, how long is this going to take? it took seconds.
Probably back and forth.
Yeah.
Yeah. You have all of that as well to deal with.
That's probably.
There's other stuff that's in here with this redirection plugin, but this seems to be like the pretty basic part of it, of telling it what its source is, telling what its destination is, and it just handles the rest for you. There are a few things in here when it comes to the way in which this is done. So, for instance, the amount of time you want it to do logging. I'd never turn this on to forever, because 10 years later you're going to have this massive log that's just sitting in there. You can also have it monitor whether or not a change has occurred. So, for instance, this is what modified posts is for. So if you turn this on, if you go into, like, we'll save this real quick and hit update, I'll show you what happens. So if I go into create a new post, and we call it something with a bunch of other somethings, and then we're going to hit publish. So this title right here is what this slug is, which is this section of it that you can edit. If I called this to, if I put like, if I name it like happy or something and hit save. Now if I go back over to the redirection plugin, it'll actually show that I made that change.
Modified post. Groups, modified post.
Should. Darn, I'm
You're right there.
Oh, there we go.
Redirects.
Cool. Oh, no. Maybe because WordPress handled that part of it. Let me switch it to something else again. You guys don't pay me enough to prepare for any of these talks, so I just come up here and wing it. Oh, you know what? I didn't hit publish down the bottom. That's what happened. Okay, so now I made that change. I'll go back over to redirection. There we go. So now I redirected from this to the word happy, and if I go and tell, to only have it look at the modified posts, you'll see that just these ones show up as what was modified.
There might be some reasons where you don't want to redirect. You have to just delete it.
Yep. Yeah. So if you changed it from cat to dog to hippo, and then you made a custom post type, let's say, called cat, that custom post type will now you won't be able to access it because of the fact that at some point you used to have a page called cat. And that's where, like, you're going real deep into this, but you're like, why isn't this page loading? And it'll actually 404. I'll give you a 404 error and say, I don't know what to do, because there's a conflict between these two different things that exist in here.
So maybe just keep it simple at the root. Try to keep things that are
yeah.
on the page. Certain.
And when you get to that point, you just ping Jason and say, hey, I have something on my site. Can you fix it?
Yep. Let's see here. What was the next part we were going to talk about regarding stuff?
Add some plugins, I guess. Some preferred plugins. You can do that, or
Yeah, we can do
I
that.
was going to ask, when you have 100 pages and you're trying to redirect from HTTP to HTTPS, how are you going to take care of all those at once, or do you have to go through each one?
Well, if there's like a method to your madness when it comes to that, you can export that file and then edit it in, and then upload it back up again, and it'll redirect everything. I'd imagine that like SEO shops that are really trying to make sure that these things are going to be crafted correctly would probably do something like that. Let's pull down everything, mess with it, and push it back up again.
Just add an S to all your old files, basically.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, well, for all the URLs. Yeah. So let's talk about a couple of these plugins that are available. So let's go start with SEO. So we did a few. We had a talk about this last meeting about SEO stuff. There's probably 9 gazillion SEO plugins, but the two big ones are these two guys. Is all-in-one SEO and Yoast SEO. And it's funny because I haven't looked at all-in-one SEO since probably 2008. And so when I looked at it, I was like, oh, they haven't changed the dashboard for it at all. Because it's this big, long list of like, I'm going to install it real quick just so we can take a look at it.
In terms of your clients that you work
Yes.
There's
Yeah.
a really great little plugin and website called, I think it's called WPCore. And what you can do
Yeah.
is you can go in and other people, you can go in and basically create a list of plugins that you install.
Yeah, they call it a collection.
Yeah, so you can have, so if there's 10 or 20 that you install on every single site.
So this guy?
Yeah. You can, so you install it here, and then you go to their website, and you can create a list of your own, and then all you do is, on the website, there's all the plugins that you would install. You grab the collection, it's called a collection key, and you just put it in over here, and then they'll all show up, and all it says is install,
Yep.
and then activate.
I got that.
And then you do that, and then you can delete that whole plugin.
Wow.
You can create your own too. I've done it because obviously I have some that I have their license, so like Gravity Forms, different ones. But yeah, so here's some that are just like, people will put theirs up there and they can create their own collection. You can go in and grab collections that other people have set up and stuff. And then if you scroll back up, the collection key is right there in the top corner.
This guy.
Yeah, you just grab that, post it in there.
So you just.
Your own,
No, if I hit this, does it instantly install them all?
It does instantly install.
Okay, cool.
It'll show you which ones are there.
No, if that plugin has a key, you use somebody else's key?
No, so there's no keys.
No, this is just a unique value that is allowing it to talk to each other.
It easily does the ones in the repo, but if you have like if you have Gravity Forms or something that you've purchased, what I've done in the past is basically I've just uploaded it to my own server in a folder somewhere that nobody knows about, and then you can link it in the WPCore website, and you can have a few, and then it'll install it for you. What's going to happen though, and what I ran into, it wasn't a huge deal, but basically I was just in whatever version of Gravity Forms that I had or whatever plugin, that's just going to be sitting there. So it's going to install it. Once it installs it, I'm going to have to then update it, and then I also have to enter in my key. So there's and I had mine hidden, so like people couldn't go and
grab your collection.
You can set it to where the one you create is hidden and only you can access it.
Right.
So I go in there and do that and basically just install them all fairly quick.
And apparently you can also do multiples. So if I wanted to install WooCommerce with a bunch of plugins as well as this other thing, I can go back into WPCore and say I want to add another collection, and then save collections. It goes out to WPCore's website and pulls in the list of all the stuff.
Saves you a lot of time.
Now, the concept looks very similar to like Docker. I mean, is this?
It has that same type of like just click on the things you want and then it builds it for you. Yeah, I've never used this. These two guys have. It seems like they've used this quite a bit.
And so at this point, we'll just go to plugins and get activated.
Yeah, I think it'll do it also, so you can.
So I sit install plugins.
Choose,
and they'll install
so
it.
it says at the top, begin installation of plugins. You can dismiss the notice, and then you can go in, and after that, then you can just activate them all. And I thought you could. I thought somewhere, I can't remember, but I thought maybe you could even say, oh, okay, I don't want to include these. But either way, you can install it and then go and delete it.
It's all free, by the way.
Yeah, this is all free.
So one thing I think is a little funny with the way that we're approaching this whole thing is that when I tell people to go and build a new website, I don't ever tell them, hey, go register a domain name and then go through all this stuff in there and then start building the website. What I tell them is, hey, install something like local or one of those types of like local environments, desktop server, one of those. So use something like that and then do it locally on your computer, and then when you're ready to go, you go through this deployment process where you upload the site to upload your locally built website and put it out on the internet. But if you don't really know what you're doing and you're just kind of playing around with this a little bit, doing what we're doing here is probably as good as you're going to be able to do. So it's funny, like typically what I tell people is don't build a website like off the web server, like actually build it using your local setup, and then when you're ready to go, deploy it out onto the internet. The reason why we're going about this way is I want you to be able to pull out your phone, your laptop, your whatever, and look at it. And really, we may even have like a thing where it's like, okay, everybody log into the website, and once you're logged in, I want you to write a blog post. Blah 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 blah. Hit save. And now we want to maybe play around with a new plugin that just came out or something, or have multiple authors of the same post. Or
you share it on Facebook and put the share on there.
Right, exactly.
These guys are making blue tires.
Blue tires is gonna be awesome. But that's the whole reason why we're doing this live on a website that you can look at, is so you can play with it and kind of see how it's working.
Never ever make edit. The only time I would ever do this like on a live server is if this is a brand new domain site that nobody ever even knew about. It's a brand new company or something.
Yep.
And even then, I'm putting up pages to where if for some reason somehow somebody got to it, there's like a maintenance type page where they can't even see.
Like for instance, we didn't even take the time to go in here and say like,
right,
hey, let's make a robots.txt file, make sure no one actually goes to this website. So
or your friend accidentally erases your whole site.
That would happen too.
Oops.
Jason, I'm with GoDaddy. Would it make any sense to take a domain name and download WordPress and then just use that domain as a practice site?
You could do that. I don't know if you need to download your whole website. If you wanted to, you could. Like for instance, WordPress built in has the ability to export your website, and it'll take all of your blog posts and will download a file so you can then import it someplace else. If you have a really complicated website, this probably won't work for you. But if you just have a bunch of posts, a bunch of pages, a bunch of content, this would work perfect for that.
Yeah, I used, I know Red Hat also has, it's something called OpenShift.
Yeah.
Based, so, I mean, I forget your names, but
You can download it from
well, I was just going to say
WordPress org. You can download from that.
Right. But if you wanted just a server, you can spin up a Linux server, and they've got pre-built WordPress cartridges, so it's fairly easy to go in there and just spin up a WordPress site. It's going to give you a really long, ugly URL, but who cares? It'll be just yours, and you'll be able to go in there and mess around with it. If you want to share it with a friend later, hey, look what I'm building, whatever.
Yeah.
Might be a good way to go.
The one I've been playing around with lately has been this one called Local by Flywheel. I don't use Flywheel. I'm not a customer there, so I'm totally just using this just as a way to have a local environment set up. But I can just quickly create one. I played around with it a little bit while we, in previous instances of doing this. But being able to that's called Local. It's a great way, it's a great, just search for the word local. You won't find it. It's like a MAMP, LAMP, WAMP, ZAMP type of stack. Yeah. It uses Nginx or Apache. You can specify either one and specify which version of either one that you want to use, including which database you want to have and what version it is. But it's called Local by Flywheel. Yeah, if you just search for Local by Flywheel, you'll find it.
Or if you have a domain, you can just create a subdomain, do all your development there, and then just move it.
You sure can. So, like for instance, I host with WP Engine. WP Engine gives you a staging server, so you can just go in the staging server, create a staging server, start building your website, and then when you're done, say, migrate this to production. You hit the button, and it just migrates the website to production. Updates all the URLs, does all the stuff that we just kind of sat here and discussed. But it does all of that for you, so you don't have to do anything special. Places like GoDaddy and Bluehost, as well as SiteGround, all those guys have staging servers as well. So you just go and click the staging button and set that up. It'll even migrate your existing website into staging, so you can play around with it as well. So, kind of to answer your question, should you do this migration and copy it to your computer? I'd look and see if your web host has a staging server, and if it does, then utilize that. That way you're not breaking anything, but you're still having everything up on the internet. What's nice about that is if you're working with somebody else, you can actually have them log into it and play around with it as well. and not actually break your existing website. You're breaking the staging server.
Yeah, because I've definitely built locally, and then it's finished, or thought it was. Put it up to the host, and all of a sudden stuff doesn't work. I found that happens quite a bit when I've been working with a client that's working with GoDaddy, where all of a sudden it's not sending emails or things like that, and so it's always, you know, I usually about halfway through I'll upload it to the site and be like, okay, let me check, see what the environment's going to do.
So let's take a look at
How does local compare to desktop server?
two totally different animals when it comes to the way that it does it. Desktop server uses a local Apache installation, and then it does everything through that. Local actually has a virtual machine that it boots up, and it puts in the correct version of Apache, the correct version of Nginx, the correct version of MySQL, and it sets up a WordPress environment for you. So at that point, all you're doing is just hitting the go button and get in there and start using it. Desktop server has a bunch of really cool stuff. For instance, if you want to automatically log in, you just click the button, say automatically log me into the site, and it just gets you into the site quickly and easily. So there's pros and cons. I've tried both of them, and right now I've landed on local to play with it for a while. I'm one of those guys that likes to tinker, so I want to build a website real quick. I'm going to build a website. What am I going to use? Oh, I'll use local. Sure, why not? And just spin that up and start playing with it.
And what's the price?
Local is absolutely free.
Oh my goodness, that's
Yeah.
a big plus.
And they just want you to be able to use their web hosting.
Yeah.
So Flywheel's its own web hosting company, and I've never used them before, so I probably will never use them. It's just their product seems like a pretty cool thing to be able to just quickly install it and start playing around with it. So yeah, I don't have a dog in the fight or anything like that. It's just kind of a cool thing to play around with.
Heroku's another
Yeah, that's another one that you could use too.
kind of what? Heroku?
So I haven't used all-in-one SEO pack since, like I said, since probably the day this thing was built. But this is the kind of the interface that they have here, and the things that you're able to do in it. So setting up rewrite rules, setting up page titles, and so on and so forth. So these plugins all do roughly the same type of thing, of being able to do SEO management of the various pages and stuff, pages, posts, that sort of thing. Looks like they also have some performance stuff in here for updating a few things regarding memory limits and stuff like that. And then looks like they have different features that you can install as well. So looks pretty cool. The one I use is the one by Yoast SEO. And whenever you're doing any of these sorts of things, putting in 2 SEO plugins will not equal double the SEO. Don't do that. Don't do that. So I'm deleting the Yoast SEO the SEO plugin that I was playing around with, and I'll show you Yoast since I actually know what I'm doing with Yoast.
Like toast with a Y.
Yep. Or like Joost, Joost, or Yoast if you're, Norwegian. So here's Yoast over here in the corner. You go to Dashboard. You'll be able to see all the features that Yoast can do in here with general and features, and be able to update your info. Remember I put the exclamation mark there, so there's this text here. Webmaster tools if you're using Bing, Yahoo, that sort of stuff. So it has all of the SEO functionality that you can do in here.
One thing they changed last year in Yoast SEO, it took me a while, like where's the XML sitemap, and it's not on there unless you turn it on.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you go to SEO, you go up there to general, I think, no, features, sorry. You have to turn on advanced setting pages. See, they automatically disable, they hit enable, and then you hit, I think you have to go down and hit update. And then you'll notice on the SEO on the left, now you get a whole bunch of new things now.
Nice.
So the XML sitemaps, but see, they automatically turn it off by default. People get in there and mess with it, I guess, or something. And then that's where the XML sitemap, that's what Google wants to see.
Which I think it's already turned, like it's turned on once you,
It just doesn't have
Right, yeah,
the
just-
configuration piece to it.
but it's, I think it automatically turns, it's automatically there once you install Yoast.
Oh, I see, but then.
You just can't
But you don't
configure
get-
it.
Like, unless you're gonna get in there and.
Oh, mess
like,
with it,
and
change
see
it.
all that stuff, yeah. You
Oh,
have
I
to turn
see.
on that one
Yeah, like if you
feature,
go in here,
but it's
here's
already
your,
turned on.
so like even the sitemap didn't work, I don't think, because it,
Jason, one of the questions that I have involves Yoast.
okay.
You
Yeah, well-
haven't mentioned it, so there's something different.
Yeah, so let me save this real quick,
RYU or something?
and I'll save my permalinks real fast just to make sure that's working correctly. Go back into Yoast and go to sitemaps. Yeah, there's my sitemap.
It's actually 3 sitemaps into 1 sitemap.
Yeah, this is an index sitemap. So that's another plugin that we would typically install, is something like Yoast SEO or All-in-One SEO, depending on which flavor of SEO you want to play around with. Other stuff like forms, I use Gravity Forms personally. There's other forms that are out there, so we can do a quick little search on the types of forms that there are.
Is there a reason why you use Gravity over Yoast?
I've been using Gravity Forms for so long that I tried to use Caldera Forms, which is a great form builder, like fantastic form builder. But it took me like 3 hours to figure out how to use it because I'm so used to how Gravity Forms works. It's more muscle memory for me of just like clicking and dragging and doing stuff. Where you know, there's, you know, like WP Forms is another one that's out there. But I've been playing around between Caldera Forms and Gravity Forms. Caldera Forms is more like developer friendly, where Gravity Forms has developer type stuff that's in there, but it's not made for somebody who just wants to really get in there and make some serious changes to it. Caldera Forms is free as well, with just like paid plugins and extra stuff that's in there. But if like you want, for instance, wanted to have it do like a JavaScript action or extra stuff like that, you could do that in Gravity Forms with some additional stuff. You probably have to write some additional code for it. Where this, you just install a plugin and then start building off the pieces for that.
You need to install a plugin for captcha on those?
So the one for like Gravity Forms has a CAPTCHA piece built into it. You just put in like the Google CAPTCHA API key, and then you're good to go. So forms-wise, you know, if we wanted to use something, say like Contact Form 7, we can take a look at that real quick. I'm not a big fan of this one, but I haven't used it, so let's play around with it real quick. I'm start. Yeah.
Content right there.
So most of these form builders have a way of being able to create the form just by using this short code. So you create the form, and then you have the short code that you use to reference it. So for instance, I'll edit this particular form. Wow, this is how Contact Form 7 works. That's fun.
It's not great.
Yeah, that's pretty awful.
It hasn't changed much. 'Cause I remember
Yeah,
sure
years
has
ago
it.
being like, oh my God, this
It's
is
very
better.
cryptic.
Yeah, so it looks like they're using some type of short code-ish type layouts to put the stuff in here.
Yeah, Gravity.
So it looks like there's a few things you can kind of build in here, and the way in which the email is going to be set up, and then what the message is going to look like. So a lot of the form builders have the same type of setup when it comes to, here's how I want this to go, here's where I want it to go once it gets, once it gets sent out, and then here's the messages I want it to display when it either works or doesn't work or has an issue, or those sorts of things.
I remember when I was using this before I found out about Gravity Forms that you want to install another plugin that goes with Contact 7, and that is it'll take all the submissions and put them in a database for you.
Flamingo.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
What's it called?
Flamingo.
So right now, out of the box, it just sends it to the email, and then it's done, which is not good because
Yeah,
sometimes
there's an error
in the email, right?
configuration,
So the
yeah.
email, so sometimes emails could go in spam, it could be rejected, it could go and flipping around over the internet, and this plugin's not very good because it doesn't know, once it sends it out, it doesn't know if it even gets there or not.
So we're gonna pretend that we like Contact Form 7, and then we'll circle back around maybe next meeting or something, and how to use something else. So we're just gonna use whatever the stock stuff that it had in here. So here's our contact page. So when I click on the contact page, I have your name, your email, subject, your message. So super simple to do. Hit the send button, and it'll send out an email to Ross because he's the one that set up the site. So his email will show up in there.
Don't fill out my email, please.
Exactly. So that's how you would get the contact form on there. One thing you notice is, like on this site, we don't actually have any menus set up. So if we wanted to set up the menu, we can do that real quick. So on the website, if you go under Appearance and then go to Menus, you'll see that you can start setting up your menu. So if I create a new menu, we're going to name it Menu. I know, right? So did it save it? Let's see. Okay. So if I go look here, I can see I can add in some pages. So we'll add in maybe the home page and the contact page. So they show up over here.
What's that no access page? I don't get this. Is that from Beaver Builder? That no access page?
No, I think it's Yoast. That's it. Maybe it's Beaver Builder. I've seen it as well. I
don't know what the purpose of it is.
I typically delete it, but
Me too.
we're probably not doing it right. Probably missing something.
You're gonna break some if you delete it.
So if I go refresh the site, not there, and we'll go back to menu, go up to manage locations. We can specify which menu we want to have show up. This particular theme has 3 different places you can put a menu. So if I refresh here, you'll see that I guess nothing shows up there. If I change this to the header menu and save it, it should show up right there.
There you go.
Beaver Builder uses the customizer pretty heavily. So if you go into the customizer, you can turn on this menu that shows up at the very top. That'll show up right below this menu, this admin bar, but it'll show up right there, so you can kind of see, depending on how you want the menus to be set up. We're talking about plugins today, so we're going to continue with that. Google Analytics, another plugin that we can quickly install and kind of set up. I'm not going to really be able to go through a full setup of it because of I guess my Google account would be associated with it, but we can figure that out later. So we'll look at Google Analytics. There's a few of these that are out there. The one that I still use is the one by Monster Insights. There are other ones that are out there as well. One that I've been playing around with a little bit is this Google Analytics Dashboard, which will also set up Google Analytics if you want. But by turning both of these on, this one and this will actually let you see your Google Analytics in the dashboard as it says in the title. So if I turn that on, you'll see a new little box will show up on the dashboard. So if I go in here, you'll have a Google Analytics dashboard. That'll show you a little graph of what's going on and stuff. So if you're not somebody who logs into analytics all the time, but you want to see how many people have gone to your website, you can definitely do that.
But you can have both plugins simultaneously?
Yeah, so like if I go in here and go to setting, let's see, where's analytics at? That's the one for, yeah.
It should be called.
I didn't turn the other one on. So
Insights.
So this is the Google Analytics with the dashboard piece. You can either turn on the tracking code using this, or you can not use the tracking code, like disable it, and you'll make it so only the dashboard piece will get displayed. So you'd use this as a way of displaying the stats, and you can use Monster Analytics as the way of being able to actually have the analytics code turned on.
And why do you like Monster better?
It's the only thing I've ever used.
Oh, okay.
Comfort.
This is why I'm stepping out.
GADWP Forms and Monster.
All the rest are faster and easier, but this is.
Probably. I wouldn't doubt it. So if we go into Monster Analytics, you can see that if I'll just go and associate my Google account real quick.
Google
Dashboard.
Analytics dashboard.
Yeah. So let me go log in real quick here. Put it in my email. Hit allow. I'm going to copy this code. Paste the code. And it's probably not going to show up in here because, yeah, I have to create it on the other side. That's what I'm going to do. Oops. All right, let's go create a new site in Google Analytics. Oh, fun. Let me see here. I don't really want to show off my client's.
Live on Facebook.
Yeah, let me turn this off real quick.
There's somebody here that says Lewis, not this Lewis, but no Lewis says, why doesn't Jason use DesktopServer? Comments on Facebook here.
I use DesktopServer. I'm not currently using DesktopServer because Jason wants to play around with more stuff than just the things that his friends build. That's why. All right, so I'm just going to go and create a new. Okay, now I can show it. Google Analytics tends to just show the last thing that you've looked at. I really didn't want to show off my client stats live on the internet, so I'm going to create a new account here real quick, and we're going to call it BlueTires, and we're going to put in. It's always fun to type live on the internet for everybody to see. Alright, so I'm going to set up all those things. I'm going to get the tracking number. Set I agree. And then what happens is it gives me this block of stuff. Since we're using a tool that's smart, it'll actually go look at my Google account real quick to see what information's in there. So let's go and refresh this real quick and authenticate. I'm going to push next. I'm going to get this little copy and paste code that I need to do. Alright, so now I should be able to do blue tires. Sweet. Blue tires. We're going to take over the world with making blue tires.
Every month we'll see the hits starting to grow.
Yeah, exactly.
Does something.
Exactly. So,
15 hits that way next month.
all 15. All right. So we're going to hit save. And now that we have, oh yeah, we're going to make tons of blue tires. .xyz? Oh my goodness.
That was a big thing last year.
Blue tires?
Blue and yellow tires.
Oh really?
Blue, yellow, and orange tires.
I drive a Honda Accord. It's not all tricked out or anything. It's a grocery getter. So now that I have Google Analytics installed, I can at least look at that part of it. I'll show you the kind of the dashboard analytics plugin that I was showing you earlier, just so you can kind of get an idea of what that tool does. Blue tires. All right, hit save. All right, there's my blue tires thing. If I go to the dashboard and go down here, you can see stats for the last 30 days.
Love it.
Nothing, because we haven't even gone to our own website.
Don't need as much custom sites, you know.
But yeah, if you wanted to show somebody here's stuff that's going on the website, you could they'll be able to look on this and see like real time what's going on or any of that sort of stuff. So if all of you guys have a phone, you can go to BlueTires.xyz, and then you'll be able to see the Google Analytics grow right here. I don't think it includes me since I'm currently logged in, but I'll go as go in here and I'll click on a few things. BlueTires.xyz, or Z if you're Canadian.
It costs 99 cents to register it.
Wow.
It's $7.99 every year thereafter.
Yeah. I'm sure there's a lot of people searching.
So,
And it's boring.
And it's blank?
Boring.
Oh. Oh man.
blue tires.
So we'll be able to see Google Analytics data coming out of
We'll see
the
if it's mobile friendly too.
better be mobile friendly.
Automatically.
But all of this data will start showing up in here if it
So they do have
loads
live
up or not.
view there.
Say again?
They have live view. You can
Yeah, it actually will do the Google API to get the.
It's right there, real time. You should click on real time right there.
Yeah, that's what I clicked on.
Oh, but it's.
I don't know why it's not showing it. Yeah, I don't know.
I always like doing the post.
What did you put?
You can see your feature coming in.
It was just does it just look at the root, or do you?
You'll look at any page that you go to. I wonder if it.
Does it take 24 hours?
No, I've seen it happen pretty quick.
It's generally immediate.
Yeah, it's usually pretty fast.
See if you get the front page of Google. Search blue tires on Google.
That's weird. I don't think I've ever set up Google Analytics and then had a room of people try to go to the page. This is new territory here, folks.
Well, you could go to the website and view the source and see if they're tracking
Sure, we can do that.
code. Yeah.
It's up in the header.
Just Google, just Control F and then Google.
Google Analytics by Monster Insights. Yeah, it looks like that's in there, and there's it's probably the script for it. Yep, that's the script for. Nope, that's not the script for it. Let me go into view source instead, just so it's easier to read.
You used to be able to go by keyword sales, but from what I gather from our last meeting, that isn't possible anymore?
Looks like it disabled for the admin user.
Well, that was great.
Yeah, no,
Let me see
I
here.
thought so too. I remember I searched for it. I spent hours one day trying to figure out, like, how did I get there? I thought I was just lost.
Did
It
you,
turns out, like, no, they just.
when
just,
you
like, turned
registered
off.
it, did you put
They
in
give you the first few or whatever.
HTTPS, or
but
did
then-
you do?
I did HTTPS. Yeah.
You could pinpoint the keyword.
You can. You have to.
I went really fast.
You have to use a.
Let me deactivate this one
Like, if you want to
and
see all your
make sure it's
keywords
working
and
okay.
search and stuff, you have to pay for that.
At one time, I was spending $2,000 a month on AdWords, but I never could ever get the goddamn thing to work exactly right. Because you're buying keywords that don't do the damn thing.
Okay, yeah. There's our answer. There's our ad code or our analytics
Yeah,
code.
the tracking code. Right there's on the bottom down there. It says create.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Looks like it's.
Like a SEO guy.
Looks like that's loading up.
I was going by what the guy said.
No, yeah. 'Cause I-
Anyhow, so there's Google Analytics. I don't want to spend a whole bunch more time trying to figure out why Google Analytics isn't working correctly.
Can you test that inside Google Analytics? You can test it inside the website.
Yeah, I went.
It works during the day, but at
Can you
night
see-
that they
yeah,
don't. It's like good, Jason. I'm trying to.
Can you turn Yoast up? Or Yoast?
Oh yeah, I can definitely do that. So, so Yoast makes it so that you can set up the kind of the basic pieces of the website's kind of the website's title and its alternate title, and if there's a company or a person that's involved in it, and kind of setting those pieces up. But the main part that really kind of shines for Yoast is when you go into a pages or a post. It adds this additional meta box right here. And what this meta box does is, I'll go to our what we called our home page real fast here. So I made a page. I wasn't thinking. I made a post that I called homepage. That's awesome. All right. Wasn't thinking earlier. So so this is the SEO information that will be used for Google or for Google. So this looks like a Google results page. So it shows you the title, it shows you what the URL is going to be, and it shows you what the excerpt is going to be. So you can click on one of them and change the information that's in there. Yoast by default will use these tokens. So if I go here, it uses these tokens, which is 2% signs, and then a word, then 2 more % signs, and a word with 2 more % signs. So it uses these to kind of build this out. You can replace this, so we can say, and then I can say like blue tires, and then up here it'll put the word blue tires up here.
What's great about that? See that little red line right
I was
there?
gonna ask about that.
It tells you how many characters you can use, so that Google doesn't cut it off. So I think it's 70 characters on the title. So you can just start typing, and then eventually it's going to say, you know what, you're getting close here, and then you only go beyond that.
I don't know. So
Right.
so it's gonna put in, you know, a bunch of search friendly things maybe. Yeah, so you know, yeah, those sorts of things. So then it'll also show you if you're on a mobile device or if you're on the desktop, what it's going to look like.
There's no touchpad.
What's that?
There's no touchpad?
Not on the TV.
Okay.
Yeah. So between these two, so you can kind of see those things. And then if you go down here, you can put in what the slug is, and then what the meta description would be. You know.
And the ministry is like, I think, 140 characters, like double the. Now, you hear last month, there's actually, I learned something new last month where if your content's really, really good and it's excellent, Google will give you a third line of content right there. Normally it's 2 lines, 144 characters. They'll give you an enhanced listing if you're
Once you've been crawled and they verify it.
They verify, and you're just like the guy of whatever you're going to be doing on your website. You can get what they call an enhanced meta description, which is 3 lines of code, 3 lines of content, not code, but content. So that makes it, and each one of those words, talking about keywords. The words in the SEO title, those are all keywords, and the words in the description are all keywords. Also, the URLs are keywords too. So like if you wanted to sell, like obviously we're going to sell blue tires, you have blue tires in the title of the thing. You have it in the SEO title. You have it in the meta description. So if we really want to really sell blue tires, that's what you want to do.
Right.
And then there's another part of this too, is that's what you call a focus keyword, which is down right there. So type in blue tires. Okay, now. Right, now go back to the top, and now it's going to tell you, actually zoom out a little bit. See down below, it's going to start turning those green, or reds into greens.
Oh, so it's okay. So it's active.
It's active in real time.
Yeah.
So now it tells you at the very top, this focus keyword doesn't appear in the first paragraph of the copy.
Your goal is to get those all green, which in my opinion is impossible.
So if you
Right.
put the
You
word,
don't need the basics. You don't need to make them
But I
all
felt
green.
like
Just
anyway,
make the
it's
basics.
impossible.
Make sure that if you want to sell blue tires, which is what our website is, you want to make sure it's in the URL, make sure it's in the title of the page, and make sure it's in what they call an H1 tag, which is like the header of the post. Google loves H1 tags, but they love whatever's in the H1 tag.
Right.
I don't know why you're not H2 or H3, but H1 is the primary title of that page.
so as you start putting things in here, you'll start seeing that these things will turn from red to orange to green, and then once you start getting green, that means you're doing a pretty good job with the information that needs to be in here. So like for instance, it's telling me that I have 100 or 441 words in here. It recommends 300. You know, I did a really great job of putting Latin in here, so there's a lot of really great Latin words for people to Google. I also put in the word blue and the word tires in here. So it was asking for the first paragraph to have the word blue and tires in there, so I started putting that in there. It's telling me that there's no outbound links to this page, so we could probably put like I don't know, like change this so it's, you know, tires.com or I don't know, whatever. But you can just kind of see like what ends up happening.
It also shows it up at the top as like a little green icon logo. It's red, and that's just it kind
So
of
click on
basically do
top.
the same thing.
Yeah.
So if your post is going to be SEO fodder or
Well,
SEO goals,
what it is there's two SEOs we're talking about. There's on-site SEO and off-site. This is all on-site SEO. What on the site? This has nothing to do with off-site SEO, which is a whole nother meeting. But
Right.
this is all on your site. How is your site SEO on-site? You know, not stabilized, but what's the word? Optimized.
Mm-hmm. So like this one right here says the focus keyword doesn't appear in the URL. This is a great time for us to call this blue tires, let's say. So then if I go back down here, it'll tell me that you know, now I actually have the URL. Where is that at? Yeah, right here. It appears in the URL of the page. So then up here, maybe I should call this or something like that. So then if I go back down here, you'll start seeing that now the word, now I have the title that actually has the word blue tires in it. The focus keyword is this. You know, so I'm building, slowly but surely actually building this so it's correct. It's great that I use.
Basically, just hold your hand and make sure your site, each page is SEO friendly.
Right.
What, does Google care about accessibility or not so much? Is that
Yeah, I mean, definitely.
I don't care if it's mobile.
Actually, you should care about it because there's some sites out there, there's people suing people now for
Oh, yeah.
accessibility.
Yeah, I know.
Where you're worrying about like ARIA content and those. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, we had on my WPwatercooler show, we actually had somebody who was an accessibility expert who came on and kind of just walked through that entire piece. Man, what an eye opener! I mean, that right there just shows you. It's like, I work at a church, so it's like I make sure every single image that's on the site explains what it is.
It's called alternate text.
Yeah, I do all of that stuff just to be 100% sure that.
You've got tables, you have to make sure you've got descriptions and stuff on there.
Yep.
I guess the easy thing to do is, you know, just act like you're
blind.
Or blind or whatever.
Yep.
Yeah,
And
actually,
just, you know, act like you're blind and you'll figure it out and go, oh, wow.
And there's plugins to do all of that stuff too.
Yeah, I don't know if you've ever tried, I forget the name of it was actually a desktop software that basically you install it on your desktop and it'll mimic what it's like for a blind person navigating your PC. That was an eye-opener.
Yeah, let me find it for you real quick.
Every control, every click, everything you're doing, it's actually having you read it back to you as you're going.
So there's. Yeah, man. $10, man. I'm making the money. Yeah. So doing stuff with ARI with screen readers. They start explaining some of those things in there. There's WPwatercooler. And then there's Wally, which is a accessibility tool that you can take a look at as well. So there's a whole bunch of these different tools that you can use if you wanted to really kind of see what's wrong and what's right with your site.
Wave, W-A-V-E.
Yeah.
Wave.org.
Mm-hmm. But if you go take a look at episode 42 of WP Blab, we had a person on that was talking about it, Rachel Carden, or Rachel Cherry. She's the one that did that. So feel free to go take a look at that. All right, so now that we've are selling we have blue tires for sale, and we've SEO'd this page a teeny bit. Now, if we go back to the front page of the site, you can kind of see that we're talking a little bit more about that type of content. I actually have a link that goes over to BlueTires.com. I can probably put some links in here that are internal links that go to our contact page and that sort of stuff. And those are all the things that are going to turn those red lights green, and making it so that way people will be able to find the content easier.
Some of those are red, some of those are orange. You said the very top, but we're pretty green.
Yeah.
There's a dot on the very top row of the admin
Like
bar.
this one right here, if I put in so if I did like a contact us link, just for instance, since we have a contact page, I can save that, hit update. Now if I go back down here, you'll see that we now have an internal link. So this right here, we have an internal link and one normal outbound link and one internal link. So yeah, after a while you can get all those oranges back down to greens, and you're at least doing something rather than absolutely nothing. Having that focus keyword is definitely something that's good to be able to find that information. So it starts highlighting it. So it highlights the word blue tires up here and another blue tires up here. This is already bold, so it can't make it any bolder. But yeah, you'll be able to kind of look through all these things and make sure that everything's looking good. Also over here on the right, it says that the SEO is good. Readability, it needs improvement because it's all in Latin. But I'm not plagiarizing anybody. How about that?
Good.
So yeah, so those are, if you buy the Yoast Premium, you can do additional keywords and be able to search for them, make sure all those things are working okay. There's a whole bunch of other things that are kind of built into Yoast SEO stuff, but I think that's about it. If we come up with more ideas, we're going to come back to this site, so that way we're not having to rebuild new sites or do any of those sorts of things, but just being able to kind of have one place that we're playing around with this stuff and not either showing our clients websites on accident or doing anything weird like that, but we'll have that one place to look at. Should we do some Q&A?
Both of those questions are plugins you apparently use. One is Monster and the other one is...
Oh, okay.
So you already answered the question?
Very simple question, I'm sure.
Okay.
If you pull it up on the screen.
Okay. So home
It seems
improvement.
like I'm hung up. It isn't moving now.
Home improvement.
We'll make it move for you.
And what's the other part?
WPHPMyAdmin, I think, or...
Home improvement bargain.
Bargain. I can't spell worth a darn.
So they got the best.
Okay, so we're on the website, and you want me to go to WP-admin?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, when you type it in, you do WP admin, it should go.
Uh-huh. And then I'll have you type in you can walk over this way and type in the username and password.
hit, oh, return, there we go. Okay.
Nope. It's gonna walk you around.
See if it
Might
likes
be your username.
Is
Is
your
it
u-
supposed to be mail order man?
Mail ord man, O-R-D.
Or is it order?
Oh, now that's the correct,
Mail O-R-D-M-A-n.
yeah,
Okay.
but
Is that what's
it's
the
not,
password? Well, I just don't. Sir, what's the password that we got recorded here?
Yeah, we should always
Hey,
make
I know
it your
someone's
social.
logging in right now.
I'm gonna find mine right now. No?
Let's see. No, doesn't like that.
oh, come on.
I have your email.
What was that? Oh, God damn it.
It's okay. We can take a look at it later.
You don't wanna,
Well, yeah, or wait 5 minutes and then just file it into
well, WordFence does it permanently until you should have, well, actually, no, that's 1 day or something.
Oh, well, I see, I got a number and I don't,
Any other questions, guys? We have a few minutes.
When you
Any
install,
websites you're working on? Go ahead.
yeah, when
Lewis.
you're doing Flamingo, when you install that, you do that. Say, for example, I already have contact 7 on it.
It's a separate plugin.
I just install Flamingo and I'm good.
Yeah, you will just, it will go into the database, and you go into the Flamingo section, and then you will see all the submission.
It's a plugin, right?
It's a plugin, yeah.
I could ask the question because I can
Please.
remember. Okay, it's under Yoast,
Okay.
and it says, on the,
Here, I'll pull up Yoast here.
it says.
WPwatercooler.
It says, you have it installed like it's RYU something. In other words, it goes with Yoast, and I don't know what the.
Is
hell
it
it's
is it this right here? Yandex?
No. It's
Huh.
RY something. I don't know what the.
It says that you haven't installed it?
Should have printed it out.
Is it this?
Yeah, yeah, there it is. It tells me I haven't done that yet, whatever that means.
Okay. I don't know.
Well,
I've never used it.
Yeah,
Yeah, sorry. I am not the SEO expert. I put the stuff in here and then I hand it over to somebody else who knows what they're doing with SEO, and they do it.
Right integration checks daily if your site
What
is
this
still.
right is? Maybe the site is blocked by your robots.txt.
I don't even know what right is.
Do you just have to enable it, or do you have to pay for it?
I always look like
I
an
don't think you have to pay for it.
I always look like an absolute idiot when it comes to SEO stuff because I literally know nothing about SEO stuff. I make all the red lights green and then I go, okay, well I did 4% of what I need to do as an SEO expert. That's great.
No, I'm the same. I'm like Jason, man. I don't do SEO stuff. I'm just like,
Yeah,
my
we.
best to make it all green, and then I say,
Oh, it's,
I
sorry,
say, pay somebody else to do that.
that wave thing,
Yeah.
it's a wave.webaim.org.
Is that accessibility?
Yeah, so wave.webaim.org.
What?
AIM.
No.
M dot. So it's webaim.org. There you go.
AIM?
Yeah, AIM.
WebAIM. Okay.
So you put your website in there and they'll slap their hand if your website's not
Sort of
good.
like a
Here to do it
built-in
now.
for-
Alright, we'll see how messed up my site is.
Accessibility, right.
There's a plugin
says-
I found, I don't know if you've tried
So-
it, it's WP Accessibility,
Okay,
and I guess it'll run through your.
nice.
And it sends us to a.
So it tells you all the, like, you
Dang.
click on the different.
Yeah, I got all sorts of messed up stuff. Broken things that don't work right.
What does it do? Is telling you what's wrong with it?
Yeah, it tells you what all the different issues are.
That's pretty cool. That's a good site to have.
Yeah, the other one that I did this on my other website. This would be as good as looking at through this. That's interesting. I'll have to play around with this some. Like contrasting colors is one of those things. There's a whole bunch of these. Like, I remember having black text with like blue, like a dark blue link, and it looked at it and goes, "These two colors are very similar," and I'm like, "Ah! Okay, I got to redesign my website. Fine, give me a minute."
Yeah,
Dress,
good,
gold
good,
dress.
yeah, a good portion of the population
Yeah.
is slightly colorblind.
Oh yeah.
Oh, my ex-boss was slightly colorblind.
Yeah, there's a plugin or an extension for Chrome. Let me see here. Oh, I don't have it installed. That just goes to show
You
you.
can have color. It's just you gotta have another way of signaling that you've got some significant content there. It can't just be color. It's gotta be.
Yeah, there's this great. Let's see here. I think this might be it. But it does like cataracts, and it does a couple other things too when you turn it on. It'll change the way that the site gets displayed based on what type of color blindness you have. And then this is a different one, but it'll show you like based on the severity of it. You can see how the colors just changed. So if I go to I'll go to my site over here. So when I turn this on, you can see how the colors will start to change based on the severity.
Roughly 40% of the male population is red-green colorblind, and I'm one of them.
Huh. Yeah, you can see how it kind of cuts out. Yeah, but there's a couple different extensions for web browsers and stuff that you can play around with. There's one that shows cataracts where I'll actually put like big blobs on the screen that you can't see just to kind of test for those types of things. Really interesting stuff.
But what's the preferred color? Like all color can work, is it just black, gray?
There's no set prescription. It's gotta have enough
Red,
contrast.
green, stay away from that because so many men, including me, are red-green colorblind.
Where it looks like, yeah, like with this one, you can see how the oranges starts to fade out.
Yeah, so like if you have like gray text next to a white background, sometimes that's not good. Yeah, context isn't good there. So yeah, certain things like that.
Being an old mail order man and reading books that the mail order people wrote 100 years ago, black on white worked real well.
Oh yeah, simple.
Because you can read it.
Lewis, you learned that? Black and white.
That's it. Keep it simple.
All right, well.
Since I'm working on a new video site, is there any free video theme that anybody would recommend from the WordPress site?
Well, there's one. Yeah. The 2017 theme.
Is there any kind of, like, I'm looking for a plugin or something that would, like a regular page, I want to do, like, dedicated web YouTube pages, or YouTube podcasts, and I want to be able to bring in featured podcasts as well, and have them all laid out. So one would be like featured podcasts, one would be featured YouTube channels. Is there, I haven't found any way besides having to build the page itself.
I know that there's plugins that you can put. They'll give you a short code that you can put in. That you just put in the channel name, and it'll give you all of the stats and everything for it, including the most recent video. So it'll do the callback to YouTube, pull in the video, and then put the video in there. So it has a video
So I can
with
do like
the
8 of them I want to, or 6 of them I want to.
yeah, you could like build a grid of a couple different build that grid and then put the shortcodes in there. If you look on we'll go look in here real quick. The thing I would worry about with those is Google's the type of company that just on a whim just goes, you know what, we're just going to change our API entirely. Everything's changed, and now you have a plugin that you depend on heavily, and the API endpoint totally changed, and everything got messed up, and now you're not going to be able to find anything. So there is some plugins that are out there, and you want to find the ones that are the most recently updated, that just keep getting updated. It's like this one's like a 2-year-old or 2-month-old one, and you can look here and see like the way that these are set up. You can put in each of these videos in here, have a modal that will pop up with it on there. There's a couple different ways of kind of building these out using shortcodes. So that way, if you wanted to feature a particular YouTube channel, you just put it in there, put in the YouTube channel URL, and then it just shows up on there. WordPress built-in will just display a YouTube channel, or sorry, YouTube video. So if you just go to YouTube and just put in the YouTube address, it'll automatically make it an actual video using no embed. Yeah.
Where it just shows that, and the team that, and the creator. So all YouTube creators are in there.
Yep.
And I thought it would be something natural, something would happen.
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of them. I mean, there's plenty of plugins that will do exactly that. It's not going to build you the whole thing, but it'll give you a framework to work off of. Yeah. And it looks like, and the other thing about plugins like this is you want to find ones that have a paid component to it that are constantly updated, because paid means that they're going to be motivated to actually keep it up. I don't know how many times I've like put all my money on one plugin, not money, but put all my energy and effort into one plugin, and then the plugin dies, and you're like, crap, like my whole website is devoted to this one stupid plugin. I essentially end up adopting the plugin and start rewriting the API calls to get it to work correctly. So, but there's tons of these galleries. I mean, there's all sorts of them that are in here. So if you wanted to do it, there's plenty of them that are out there that you could take a look at. I don't know any off the top of my head. I actually, when I do all of my own YouTube stuff for WPwatercooler, I just grab the URLs and build it. I've actually built a whole back end where I put in all of the information in there, and it just kind of builds everything for me.